So I've had some thoughts on how to have a deeper relationship with your children and how to connect with them more consistently. And I want to share those with you today. So the first thing is to be organized. As you'll know, depending on the age of your children, they already fall into some sort of routine. If they're babies, of course, that could be the routine of how often they sleep and drink and sleep again. But if they're slightly older than that, that could be the routine of how often they engage with their grandparents or how often they go to nursery. Getting slightly older than that, how often they go to school, the start time of school, lunchtime at school, end time of school, home time, bedtime. All of these things are centered around a routine. So, as a father, you also need to center yourself around a routine of sorts. Now, of course, there's various degrees of routine, but when it comes to managing your children, which is exactly what it becomes when you're a full-time parent, you need to have some sort of structure in place so both you and the kids can benefit. So, organization goes a long way. Now, this can start with something simple like meal prep, making sure not only have you done the food shop for the entire week, considering things like their lunches and breakfasts and things like that, but also then making sure that perhaps you've done something in order to prepare those meals for the week. Depending on the nights in the week that you have the children or how often you see them, it's just a good idea to have some food ready, or at least an idea of what the children are going to eat with you during the time they stay. And of course, if you've got the kids over more than one night in a week, it's going to be really important that you consider adding a little bit of variety to every night. Now, if you want to take that a step deeper, consider what they're eating perhaps at grandparents, what the school menu or nursery menu will have, and you want to try and accommodate for a slightly different option at home. That's just one example. There are various different ways to be prepared. At the moment, I'm having to do regular and somewhat distant drives. So for me, preparation includes one, making sure I leave on time, but two, making sure I've got something in the car for the girls to eat and maybe something for them to watch or do for the journey home. Of course, when they first get in the car, I like to find out about their day, but of course, moments in, they either get loud or bored, and so I like to have a backup option. The point remains, being organized and preparation is key. Be intentional. Be intentional. Be intentional. Be intentional with your children. What that means is make an effort. They notice these things. They notice if you're on your phone the whole time. They notice if you bother to think about dinner. They notice if you notice them or not. So make an effort. It's important. Just try to be an intentional father. It means trying to display to them that they're not here by accident, they're not an inconvenience, and you actually enjoy spending time with them. This really translates. So keep that in mind and try to keep your efforts up. That being said, tiredness is a real thing as a father. Get your rest. There's no other way of saying it. Just get your rest. If you're exercising, working long hours, and responsible for childcare, then it's really important that you find time to rest. And that might be on the days that you're not seeing the children. But what it means most importantly is the days that you do, you feel rested up and ready for the job. Like, be intentional. And lastly, be present. Your presence is something that ideally they should kind of take for granted. Like, you should be so available to them and so in their lives as much as possible that they just kind of, yeah, daddy's around. Do you know what I mean? My dad's around. And it is what it is. That should just be standard to your child. They should just know you. And I'm not saying there aren't difficult circumstances that might be preventing you from doing that. I totally get that, of course. But whatever's within your power to control in terms of your access to them and in terms of how you connect with them, just go above and beyond as much as possible. I'm in a place now where I get frustrated with like school drops and pickups because it takes so long. But it's interesting because with me, that's all my children know. They get up, they jump in the car and they drive to school with daddy. So for us, it's become a part of life. For me, it's a frustration, but for them, it's just a journey to school. And the reason I'm mentioning this as a frustration is because it's heavy on me. It can be both time consuming and expensive on the pocket when we're talking about fuel costs of both running there and back. So for me, I'm like, the privilege of being their father is costing me something, right? But for them, all they know is daddy's around. Do you see what I'm saying? And so the point is, there will always be difficulty when it comes to parenting your children. However, as their parents, this is our burden to bear and not theirs. So in theory, they should be able to take your presence for granted. I'm not saying that that's the type of gratitude in children we want to be raising. I'm saying that it's an attitude where they just know their dad's around. And for me, that's a win. So just get involved. It might be hard. It might be tough. It might be uphill. It might seem like it's impossible right now. But I promise you, the effort that you make today will translate tomorrow. I'm going to leave you with a final thought that my mum dropped on me when I was discussing the difficulty of parenting and having a career. Imagine that. She said to me, you know, Jay, your boss in 10 years' time is never going to remember the sacrifices that you made for the job. But your girls, in 10 years' time, they'll remember every sacrifice you made for the job. And so, with that in mind, try to keep an attitude of sacrificial love with your children, if that makes sense. So, to recap, be organized. Routine is good. It's good for you. It's good for the kids. It gives them a sense of stability and provides you with a sense of stability. So get yourself organized, get yourself prepped. Be intentional. Value the time that you have with your children. It passes quicker than you know. So put an effort into the time that you spend with them. And whenever possible, just try to show a real interest in the things that they enjoy and try to connect with them. Be present. Your presence is your present. Yeah? Even if you don't have money and you can't afford to take them anywhere nice or even buy them fancy gifts, your presence is your present to them. Just be a present father, whatever that means. Even if it has to be from a distance for now, just be thoughtful and mindful about them. So if this has been helpful to you, comment below, share your story. We're building a community here of fathers that are supporting each other in the day to day, even if we just are messy men. Peace.